And yes, Ghost Sphere, the Death was the best character. The Death is almost always the best character in Discworld novels. Do not get me started on Discworld novels. I am a huge Terry Pratchett nerd, and I will go on for a long time.
I can confirm this.
Yes, and Mikey has never read a single Discworld novel, and I
Nope.
cannot express the depths of my sadness.
Have you got the film that I can watch?
There are actually some.
That was
They're
so,
not
yeah.
as good as the books, but
No.
there are some adaptations. Hogfather is probably the best one. I'm not a huge fan of the way they did Hogfather, but we could talk about that when we're talking about Terry Pratchett.
I need to become more
tangential.
learned first. Yes. Yeah, it's interesting the number of, especially when it comes to things like Dungeons and Dragons, etc., that are often referenced with Terry Pratchett novels, and I'm like, how have I missed this whole bit? You know, it's a whole pillar of all of this history that goes into all of these ideas that have been formed. I'm like, how have I missed that? Genuinely, but I did.
Yep.
Read the whole Discworld series about 4 times now. Now, I do have access to all of the books. My wife's mother has got them all. And we're on good terms, so that's always good with the mother-in-law. And she said, do you want to read it? And I'm like, cool. I'll put it on my shelf with all my other books I still need to get around to reading. I just need to prioritize the time to do it. It's silly saying I don't have time. I could choose to read instead of choosing to do something else. But I haven't.
Yes, Ghost Sphere, typing on phones is the worst. There is something interesting about Pratchett that does make some connection here. He was a huge gamer, and in fact wrote a bunch of mods, including for Morrowind, under a pen name.
Oh, nice.
Because he didn't want anyone to know this is a Terry Pratchett mod, because he was at the time the most popular author in Britain and the most shoplifted. So you just don't need. This is how you're going to unwind when not writing 3 books a year. You're gonna write video games. Don't use your real name.
I did not know that. Are there any other?
It came out after he passed.
Yeah. He would have probably been great in the game development space, certainly on the storylines and everything.
He was quite difficult to work with, from what I understand. We could go on about this for quite some time, but I am fascinated with Pratchett's work. But Neil Gaiman has this wonderful introduction to A Slip of the Keyboard, which is as Pratchett was towards the end of his life, he published a bunch of non-fiction writing he'd done. And Neil Gaiman shares the story about how he's at a convention and they give you these minders to show you around.
Yeah.
And Neil Gaiman had written a book with Terry Pratchett. He wrote Good Omens, which is an amazing book and TV adaptation. And the minder's like, oh, I've met Sir Terry. I know him. He's a cheerful little elf, isn't he? To which Neil Gaiman went, you don't know Terry. He's not a cheerful little elf.
Oh, dear.
Yes, and Rhianna Pratchett is a fantastic game writer. It's true. So yeah, I feel like I've waxed lyrical about the works of Pratchett.
We should do a dedicated stream. The influences that...
I mean, Ghost Sphere has already said we have to do a Pratchett stream, but I feel like that's just going to be me explaining everything to Mikey, where he just goes,
yeah, cool.
I
can make...
It's going to be a pre-recorded loop of Mikey going,
I just do this. I do this
and
make you full screen in the middle. It's fine. Yeah. Sorry. No, I'm fascinated by it, and I really do need to read more Terry Pratchett.
Audiobooks.
Yes, that's probably a good way of approaching it.
I'm not a fan of Nigel Planer's reading of it. No disrespect to the actor, I just don't think he understands the characters. Stephen Briggs does a very good job.
I found that
I
with
think
a couple.
They should hire me to do it because I can read Pratchett.
You see,
I will go to the mat for my reading of The Witches.
Yeah, you raise a good point there about who's reading it. I found some audiobooks impossible to get on with because I just don't like the person's voice. It's as simple as that.
It really helps if they know the story intimately and they understand the characters.
Yeah.
Like, You can't. Well, also, Pratchett has this thing where he used to hate when people called his work zany.
Right.
His work wasn't zany because the opposite of serious isn't funny. The opposite of serious is not serious. Like, they're not antonyms. And he wrote very serious comedy, like often about actual things with real characters. And, you know, I mean, his Granny Weatherwax, the old witch, is an amazing example. The woman is an
I
absolute
love the
talent.
names that come out.
Oh, yeah.
Difficult to get into. So Terry Pratchett is difficult to get into,
You have to
but
pick the right
once you
book to
get there,
start. If you're getting an audiobook, it helps to have the right reader. Don't start with the first 3 books. That's not me saying it. That's Terry Pratchett saying it. Don't start with The Color of Magic. Don't start with The Light Fantastic. I would even skip Equal Rights. Start with Weird Sisters. It's not the strongest, but it's a great introduction. Or Mort is another great introduction, where Death Takes an Apprentice.
that one already intrigues me.
He takes an apprentice called Mort and then starts becoming more and more human and trying to retire, while Mort becomes more and more deaf. This little 14, 15-year-old gangly redhead who appears to be made out of knees.
Made out of knees.
Yep.
Oh, I love the description.
Yep. There's a great moment where, right at the beginning of the book, I promised I wouldn't do this, but I'm doing it now.
Yeah.
Right at the beginning of the book, Mort, who appears to be made out of knees, is trying to scare pigeons away from his father's field, and his father's sitting there with Mort's uncle, and they're like, I mean, you think, like, if I saw that running towards me, I'd fly away. Why is he putting so much effort into it? You don't put effort into this. You know, I hear you're looking for an apprentice. Yeah, no, I got one already, didn't I? Did you? Yeah, no, last week. Yeah. Oh. Mort is one of these people who is incredibly dangerous because he's looking for the underlying logic behind everything, which, as Pratchett says, is a problem because there isn't one. The creators had a lot of good idea when he made the universe, but intelligibility wasn't one of them. So yeah, I recommend Pratchett. I recommend Pratchett in games. Both Discworld books, both Discworld RPGs, point and clicks, are very good. I've not played his mods. I imagine they're very good.